Good morning, everyone. Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner. I'm MJ and I'll be your host in this video. This is part 2 of Fantastic Battles by Irregular Wars author Nick Wright. Previous video, we see the two armies deployed in their respective spots. Orcs on the west side of the battlefield and dwarves on the east side of the battlefield. The orcs are definitely in a bit of a disadvantage the way they are deployed. But nonetheless, the orc warlord tries to organize his army in time to meet the dwarves head on. But the highlight of turns 1 and 2 is the destruction of both cavalry companies on either side. We see the great bear riders slam into the gnoll ratites and scatter them. But a well-timed blink spell by the mage actually transports the fierce orc brigade into combat. This is an orc brigade armed with falchions, and they defeat the cavalry, and that is where turn 3 really starts. I mean, this highlight marks a very important part in the game. So the dwarf artillery, despite the sick crew, the diseased crew, has been very effective this game. It is on the high ground. It's a good position on the high ground. And now we have to see what the goblin artillery can do. They're a bit limited, but they still have a couple of targets in their sights. Okay, and it is just one company on with the organ gun, so 1 damage. So we're going to lower this to an 8. And nothing else. After the shot by the dwarf artillery, the dwarven crossbow company checks its range and prepares to fire. Their dice, I mean, they're just a company. There's no nothing else to add. And look at that. They do score another hit. Okay, so this lowers this number. Look how quickly these guys are starting to go down and resolve. The dwarven artillery is in a better position on the high ground. In Fantastic Battles, high ground allows you to fire over friendly units and into enemy units. So that's a really a merit to the rules of engagement of Fantastic Battles. The goblins, meanwhile, the goblins and their ballista, are not in such a great position. They do command the high ground on the opposite side, but they're blocked. Their field of view is limited by the forest that extends down the slope of this hill. Okay, which characters activate turn 3? I'm going to do a few gem examples, and we'll see. It is dwarves. Okay, very good. Well, I think I want to have a change here. I think this captain is going to take the action himself and move a base width. Okay, and just going to keep him there. He's still within the 2 base widths. I want to keep him a bit mobile in case he's needed elsewhere. Right now, I think he's just going to stay there, and we move on to the next gem. So let's see, just see what, oh, another dwarf gem. Okay. All right, I'm going to give it to the rogue, and I think Rogie is going to attach to this company for a while. The rogue has benefits against enemy characters. So I'm going to roll randomly to see which unit this group attacks. All right, that'll give me a little bit of randomness, but in preparation for that, I'm going to attach her to it. Whether the gnolls go that way or come this way doesn't matter. I'm going to put her there for a little bit. Rogues in Fantastic Battles have a number of abilities. One thing is when they come across an enemy character and they attack that enemy character or are attacked, they roll 3 dice and pick the highest number. This gives the rogue a good chance to land some hits. They have melee 1, which they can lend that support to whatever company they're attached to. They can lead companies, although they don't have a command radius the way captains and warlords do. They can still lead a company. Also, if a company with a rogue attachment attacks an enemy company with a character and they inflict 2 resolve damage, the rogue will add a +3 bonus when checking to see if the enemy character dies. The rogue's company will have to roll an 11 or over, and the rogue itself gives the company a +3 bonus. So as we see here, the Minotaur company is changing face. It's changing face at the beginning of its movement. I like to use a shorter stick to help measure the angle. The most important thing is that companies or formations, when they change facing, the corner of their base should not exceed the maximum movement of the figure. And the lines have clashed. All right. Here in the center, we have a very messy combat ensuing. We also have the owlbears kind of being directed around the mud here, the rough ground. I didn't want to move them straight in. I could have done a flank attack here. The problem, it would also block these crossbowmen and cause a bit of a bog down here. So I don't want to do that just yet. They're going to try and be sneaky. We'll see what happens. Maybe they can do a rear attack. Maybe they can attack that mage there. We'll see. And yeah, this is going to be a very messy combat. All right, here are the gnolls approaching the axers as well. There's plenty of frontage here for more combat. And we see that warlord, the bugbear warlord, has attached to an archer company. So we'll see what happens there. The goblin ballista is reloading. That's why they have the gem. I have to mark that so I don't forget. And they're still in command range of the captain. These guys are also reloading, so I have to remember that. And our warlord here, the dwarven warlord, has moved to keep a command range with those gunners so they can continue to fire. Okay, so now calculating the dice for each of these melees here. We have the orcs have, because it's a group, they have 6 dice altogether when they join their base stats. The captain contributes 1 to that. They have furious charge, so they get 3 dice, and then another charge dice because their charge response is counter charge, since they're the ones on the receiving end. So they do get to add the charge bonus. The Minotaurs have a base of, 5 dice? A base melee of 5 dice. They have furious charge, which is 3 dice, and then +1 for the charge themselves. Okay, so the Minotaurs do a couple of hits here. We will treat those later. Now remove everything that didn't hit. And now the orcs need 4s. Oh, not a very good hit. Okay, let's put these down on the table and we will do the damage after the melee phase. Continue on with all the combats. Meanwhile, the Harpies continue their relentless attack on the Axer Brigade flank. If the Dwarves were a company, they would be able to easily face change facing in order to give their front instead of their flank. But unfortunately, they're a brigade, and so they have to defend their flank awkwardly. Hey, Harpies have a base stat of 3 melee. However, they get a +2 because they're attacking the flanks. Dwarves get 6 melee because they are a company. And that's 7 because of the rogue. There is no character in the Harpy unit, so the rogue can't add her benefit just yet. But she does give 1 contribution, making it 5 attack dice for the dwarves. Now, let's see. The Harpies have a 4+ defense, and the Axer Company has a 5+ defense. All right. They need to roll 4s. Okay, not bad. 3 hits. Very good. Okay. Now, we'll separate that. After the melee phase, we'll check everything. And now the Harpies hit back. They need 5s. Oh, 2 hits. Okay. Okay, so 2 damage here. We're going back to our big melee. It is the end of the melee phase, so we have to do damage. So 7. So that's a 5. So they are down to 5 resolve. Now we have to go by the rule and immediately roll for that captain. Now the dwarves roll 2 dice. If they get an 11 or over, the Minotaurs, rather, they get an 11 or over. There's no character attachments to them or anything. Just straight 11. Okay, no. That captain lives to see another day. So, but they are down to 5 resolve. Okay, we'll remove these dice. And now they did 3 damage, which leaves these guys with a 1 resolve. They are on the verge of breaking. Okay, and next we go down to the Harpies. They are down to 1. Now they did 2 damage, so they have to roll to see. Oh, come on, Rogie. Come on, you can do this. Ah, whew. It is a high roll, so, you know, but it can be modified if the opposing side has a rogue or something like that. That could be bad for your character. All right, so they do their 2 damage. Oh, 9. And they are going, they're losing resolve here, these guys. But those Harpies are on their way out. Good news. That ends this melee phase, and it looks like our leaders are going to have to do some rallying. The situation after turn 3 is that the Dwarven left flank is now under pressure by the gnolls that are coming in for a frontal assault, but also by the Harpies that just flew in and attacked the flank of the Dwarven Axer group. There are 2 characters here in support, but if the Axers do not hold, that could lead the Dwarven left flank to break. Okay, shooting phase, turn 4, and we go to the dwarves. Artillery has to fire first. We've already established that. Now, here, I don't have enough sticks. I should probably find another stick to join it here, but assuming that these are straight lines, we see the nearest corner of this unit is not only in range, but within line of sight. Now, let's see. Now, these guys, they do have heavy missiles, so they hit on 4s. Nice shot. Nice shot. Excellent. All right, we're going to put this here. Okay. Okay, well now the artillery here, the goblin artillery, can fire into this unit. This is the closest unit. They have clear line of sight to that corner there. The shield wall is technically closer by a fragment, but it is closer to the artillery. So the artillery gets 2 dice and it will shoot at the shield wall. They need 4s because they do have a heavy missile. And they roll 2 hits on the shield wall. So that brings them down to 8. Oh, not good. So a heavy bolt suddenly smashes through the dwarf shield wall, maiming some of the warriors. So rolling for the Dwarven Sword Brigade, because they do have a character attached, they just received 2 damage. And no, he is okay. These guys are definitely in line of sight. Not only in range, but look at that front corner. Nice and open. Crossbows have 3 dice. They're going to shoot into that orcish shield wall. And nice. Nice. All right. All right. We're building up damage here. Building up damage. Very good. Very good. And yes, they are definitely in line of sight with that first corner of the base, since the harpies are out of the way. So they're going to get to throw their spears or their slings, whatever short-range weaponry they have. All right, let me see what happened. At short range, they get 2 attack die. They're definitely within short range, so they're going to get 2 attack die as they throw and fire whatever weapons they have. There's a couple of bowmen there. There's some spears or javelins, some slings, and they roll 2 dice. And they have to hit the axers at a 5. So let's see what happens. Oh, they miss. Okay. The archers fire. They are at short range to the closest corner of the base here. So being at short range, they have 2 dice. They need 6s. And they fail to harm the shield wall. Let's take care of these damages. Well, what we see here is a 5 resolve damage. They only had 5 resolve left. This base is eliminated with its character, and the dwarves have turned the tide of battle for sure. Now checking resolve around the orcs. There's no enemies around within 2 base widths. Indeed, the orcs have received a blow. One of their strong brigades, a shield brigade, has just scattered. Now, the bugbear warlord is probably starting to get concerned as he sees this dwarven, as he sees all of his brigade scatter and this dwarven line kind of closing in like a giant maw. The shooting phase is now over, and we move on to the activation phase. So before we can proceed with the action phase, we have to check command range of all our units, and we see an impetuous unit here, the Minotaurs. It is out of the 3 base width command range of Dumor over here. So the impetuous gem goes to the Minotaurs, and now they roll a d6 on the impetuous table. Now anything 4 through 6 is good. Anything lower is going to be interesting. Okay, we rolled a 2. Well, not too bad, actually. Okay, it is a dwarven activation, and this captain here is going to try to rally the axers. He uses 1 die as opposed to 3 dice. And 4s, he rolls a 1. He does not succeed. And the Gnoll Mixed Brigade charges the Dwarven Axe Brigade. That is one of the highlights of this phase. The Dwarf Swords take their activation with their captain. Their captain gives the order, and they move into the Orc Archers who conform. They're going to countercharge, and they do have the Warlord attached to them. The red gem is given to the captain, orange gem, who now tries to rally with a 5, and he is successful, so the dwarves gain 1 resolve. And with the final gem, the orc mage casts blink, and yes, it is successful at 4+. It is a 1st level spell he is casting, and Now the unit is pushed back. The dwarven unit is pushed back 1d3 plus 1. So that is three base widths backwards. The end of the activation phase for turn 4, and the dwarves find themselves exactly where they started. So this buys some time for the orcs, but is it really enough? We see the gnoll captain here who came back up to the crest of the hill to keep an eye on the goblins. And we're going to have an impetuous unit after this turn is over. But first, we have to resolve melee. This melee could tell us whether the game continues for another turn or whether the orcs break. The orcs just need one company to scatter, and they will have to retreat from the battlefield. The harpies are attacking the flanks, so they get +2 melee. And by the way, they were rallied by this captain the last activation phase and gained 1 resolve. Axers have a 5+ defense, and they fail. Even though they are attacking the flanks, they fail. The dwarves only have 4 dice because they are defending a flank and have -2. -2 dice. They need 4s and do 2 resolve hits on the harpies, and that will be enough to take them out. These harpies come right off the board. They fly away and scatter. Despite the fact that the dwarves have technically won a victory, since the orc army is at half strength, a little bit below half strength, I decided to do this combat anyway, and we see that the dwarves inflicted 4 hits on the gnolls, and the gnolls inflicted 4 hits on the dwarves. So that's going to lower the dwarves from 8 to 4, and here they're going to go down to 6 resolve. Now, both of these companies do have characters. Now, since they're still on the table, their resolve is still high. We have to roll twice for each of the characters to see if the characters are killed. So let's go with the rogue. Needs to roll an 11. Roll captain. Oh, because the rogue is present with the dwarf company, they get a +3 to the roll because of that rogue, and that brings it up to a 12, which means that the captain is killed. The rogue has somehow managed to do her assassin bit and goes through the masses and kills the mounted captain, and now that he's out, they lose another resolve. All right, well, I'm glad I did that last combat. And the dwarves have a good chance of actually defeating the gnolls there. And the bugbear warlord is definitely going to have to leave the field to fight another day. Hey, and everyone say hi to General Simon, who's in the back managing the battlefield, inspecting the battlefield a little bit. This was a fun game. It's a little difficult when you're playing solo. There's things to keep track of, the camera and all these other things that I have to keep track of when trying to play a solo war game like this. But these are very good rules. It was fun. I felt more confident in part 2 of the video. I was picking up the modifiers a little bit better and the technique. This game has a very interesting line of sight mechanic, but all in all, I will be giving this game a thumbs up. I definitely recommend it. This is a great game for smaller scale mass battles, and I will have a better, a more informative review with Julie later in the future, okay? But I do recommend it. It has very good web support. It also has siege rules, which are I really want to try out. So definitely give Fantastic Battles a try if you want to play a mass battle game. One thing I will say before I go, brigades is the way to go in this game. Playing a small, this was actually played more like a skirmish game in this case. Companies die very quickly. You want to brigade your companies for sure. Even the brigades that only had 2 companies, they can absorb more hits, but even they go a little bit quickly. You want to brigade them into at least 3 or 4 companies, which will be a lot more durable, but a lot more unwieldy. The game does has rules for that, for formation changes. So again, very interesting, and we're going to learn more about this game as I play more. So thank you, folks. Thank you for joining me on this very first time play, and Simon is getting into things in there. So I will talk to you in the next video. More about this game in the future, more big battles in the future. I gotta paint some more miniatures. So I'll talk to you very soon. This was Fantastic Battles by Irregular Wars. A good game for sure. Have a good one, folks.